Welcome everybody to ORT Day. This is an annual event where we're celebrating almost 150 years of education and training all over the world. We're delighted to have a guest speaker with us today, which will be followed by the ORT Day quiz. These are this is an important celebration of being part of ORT, but at the same time, we're all very much aware that these are very difficult times to be part of the Jewish community, to be living in the Jewish world. Um, we came across Lost Tribe just a couple of months ago, and we were so impressed with the work that they were doing. Um, there's a lot of negativity online towards Israel and towards the Jewish people, and to find an organization who is actively fighting back through engaging and entertaining content across all social media was something really uplifting to see. And we were so impressed with their work in building positive Jewish identity and building support for Israel that we thought there would be a fantastic guest to have to talk about their work um, for ORT Day. So we're delighted to have invited Spencer Solomon, who is the Director of Marketing, to tell you more about Lost Tribe and to give you some behind the scenes information about how they work, how they manage to get so many hundreds of thousands of people to engage with their content. So it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you, Spencer. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm super happy to be talking with all of you today and chatting with all of you. As Daniel said, my name is Spencer Solomon, and I'm the director of marketing at Lost Tribe. Before we jump in, I'm curious for anyone here who's joining us today, and I see that we have a couple of people coming in from classrooms. So, definitely I see a lot of people here. I'm curious, maybe as a raise of a hand, has anyone ever heard of Lost Tribe? Like, if you have ever even come across us, or maybe you looked us up this morning, raise a hand if you've heard of us. No. Okay, that's all right. Well, today we're going to learn about what Lost Tribe is, and after I teach you all or share with you all what Lost Tribe is, we can also talk about a little bit about what Lost Tribe does and how it can be applicable specifically to the teens in the room. I know that we have lots of people from lots of different areas and around the world here today, which is really exciting. So let's jump right in. So, Lost Tribe is the largest online Jewish teen community in the world on social media. We Our mission is essentially what we do is Lost Tribe leverages the power of new media, of social media and other types of new media to platforms to cultivate Jewish life, spread knowledge, and strengthen Israel diaspora bonds, right? Making connections around the world to the country of Israel and connecting and empowering the next generation to lead vibrant Jewish lives, overcome anti-Semitism with Jewish pride, identity, and joy. And from what I know about ORT, I think our missions are very closely aligned. So it's awesome to be speaking with all of you today, as I know you have a deep and profound understanding of the importance of a mission like this, which is really special. And so, in terms of Lost Tribe's vision of how we attack or approach this mission, our vision is, Lost Tribe is working towards a world in which all young Jews feel a connection to Israel, enjoy a strong network of Jewish friends, develop, knowledge and education around Jewish holidays, rituals, and values, and embrace both the joy and the responsibility of being a part of the broader Jewish community. Again, something very similar to what you all at ORT are trying to accomplish. So very, very special, very awesome. So how do we do it? Like, how does Lost Tribe specifically do it? We Lost Tribe is an online community that breaks down into three major parts. It starts on social media. That's the place where some of you maybe too afraid to raise a hand or didn't understand the question may have seen us. It would be most likely on social media. And basically on social media, we have a content team that aims to, our mission on social media is very simple. We are looking to uplift the hearts and minds of Jewish teens and young adults around the world, and we want to do it by celebrating Jewish and Israeli culture. And so that on social media dictates what we decide to post and not post. That's the brand that we live by in terms of what we're doing on social media. Really just looking to uplift the hearts and minds of Jewish teens and young adults. And as we get further down into our community, we also connect with our community with TikTok and Instagram live streams, as well as major events. And these, major holiday events are these like scheduled live streams with Discord programming, and it's an opportunity to deeper engage those followers on social media and drive them to deeper, more impactful engagement. And ultimately, the goal there is to drive them towards our Discord, which I understand. My guess is not that many people here understand what Discord, and we don't have all the time in the world today. So I think the majority of this presentation is going to surround around social media usage. So very quickly, I'll share that Discord is essentially the home of our community. A very easy analogy is similar to the way that a JCC is the home to Jewish kids in a town. Our Discord is the home of our Jewish community online. It's where our closest people are. They go and they hang out daily in chats, voice chats, video chats, lots of programming. The similar way that the JCC might have programming is our Discord. But let's talk a bit about social media. And if I'm not mistaken, again, if it's possible to hear from some people, to unmute, whether it's some of the teens or some of the other visitors that we have here, I would love to hear from anyone's thoughts as we run through this presentation, as I'd love to make this, a conversation. I love the sound of my own voice, but I love the sound of your guys's too, if that makes sense. So I have a question. Actually, sorry.
3 questions.
First, before I jump into the rest of the presentation, I'd love to share with you all a little bit about what Lost Tribes content looks like and looks like in practice, as well as some of the impact. And so hopefully this quick little video will help share and show you guys what Lost Tribe, the product, especially the social media product, looks like. So let's take a look. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do.
I'd like to guess your bat mitzvah theme in 3 questions.
Hebrew or he made it up? Guess a Jewish celebrity based on these pictures.
I feel so vulnerable holding the sign up. Everyone looking.
Test your knowledge on Israel. How old is Israel? 67 years old, 78, 76.
76, for sure.
You're correct.
Tanu.
Tanu.
Tanu. Tanur with an R in the end.
Oh.
We were doing it wrong. We were doing it wrong.
Tanu. I'd like to guess your bat mitzvah theme in 3 questions. Can I have a hint?
Food. Like kids.
Food. Jolie Rancher?
No.
Oh! Jolie. Food. Jolie Bees.
Jolie Bean.
Jolie Bean? Oh! We are Lost Tribe, the largest online Jewish community for teens and young adults, and we're celebrating our Jewish identity every single day.
Whether you're Orthodox, Jewish, an ally, or anything in between, you're a part of the tribe.
Now more than ever, we need a space to celebrate our Jewish pride. So thank you to our first 100,000 followers.
And l'chaim to the next 100.
No way!
See ya.
Day.
I just want to say you, I follow you on Instagram.
Oh.
I see you all the time. I Jewish too.
Oh,
Hi,
how
nice
are
to
you?
meet you.
So nice to meet you.
Just moved here for Israel.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
really?
welcome.
Yeah,
wow,
Shalom.
Yeah, I finished the army. I see you all the time, and you're doing a great job. So thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you. So what's your
Thanks.
name?
Yeah.
Yael, I'm Noah. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for
Spencer.
saying
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate your
Thank you.
support, and we're gonna
No,
keep
you do.
going, spreading the positivity,
Absolutely.
Jewish in
You're
Israel.
doing amazing. You know, I all the time say it and I cry and I say, oh my God, it's amazing. Somebody's doing it, you know.
Yeah, of
It's very
course.
hard and you're doing
Yeah.
amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yael.
That means
You're
so much.
amazing.
So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of an idea of like what we do at Lost Tribe and what it looks like on social media. In a moment, I'm going to try and jump into, what brands think about when they're posting on social media and what are the things, maybe particularly in terms of risk management that we look at. And I'd love to make the analogy to the way that, we all personally behave online and the ways in which we behave much like brands or need to protect ourselves like brands. But before I do that, does anyone have any questions about like what is Lost Tribe or what you just saw, or have something that they want to share or ask? Anything like that? That's okay. Okay, right on. We'll push on. So as I said, again, I'm gonna ask a question, and it's okay if no one has an answer. I have the answers as well, but again, I'd love to hear from anyone if anyone has any thoughts. But here's the question I posed to the group. Broadly, what do brands consider when posting online? Does anyone have any idea? And there really are no wrong answers, because brands consider A lot of things. But does anyone have an idea of what a brand might consider before posting something online? I'm going to give it some time. That's okay. All right. So, a couple things that brands might consider when posting online. They might consider when is the right time to post, right? Like we are here from all around the world. And so global brands need to find the right times to post, but also brands that aren't global. Like I know Lior is in and Daniel, they're both in London. And a local London coffee shop that's posting on social media might have better times posting if they're posting during the day in London rather than during the evening here in New York City, where it would be the middle of the night in London. So posting times are important to consider. Certainly asking yourself, what's the mission? What is it that we want to be accomplishing on social media, right? Is this post going to help us drive sales? Is this post going to help us build community? Is this post going to help us reach more people? Or is it going to build authenticity within our community? These are some of the questions that brands might ask before posting something online more generally, just when it comes to what content we should put out. And it's just a matter of how brands want to represent themselves. But now, more specifically, and again, I would love to hear from other people, but believe me, the answers are written in here, so that's okay. I'd love to think about in terms of risk management, and maybe even specifically risk management like within a Jewish lens, because like for instance at Lost Tribe, these are all questions that we ask when we run our Lost Tribe brand. But what do brands consider before posting on social media in terms of risk management, right? And I understand that maybe people aren't chiming in today, which is okay. But that said, they ask questions like, is the message on brand? And why is that important? Why is it a risk to post content that's not on brand? Well, of course, you have to think about your audience, right? You need to think about why you're on social media, and the purpose that your brand has on social media. And part of why we have a safe community at Lost Tribe and why we're met with such positivity, even though there's so much negativity around Judaism online, is because we've stayed on brand and we've stayed with the same message over the past 3 years. And over time, we've built lots of followers and we've built a hub, a Jewish community online that is really spherical in nature. And now when we have new followers that are brought in, they're met with a huge community of followers that are positive, that are Jewish and positive about and prideful about being Jewish, which is what we've built, which is why it's important to stay on brand. We also ask questions like, is there anything about this content that may be considered offensive, right? Have we considered all of the reasons why we might potentially face any sort of backlash from our audience? And it's also important when we think about like, okay, what type of backlash could we face posting a piece of content, or what could be considered offensive, that, who is our audience? And it's not just always the target audience. Like for us, our target audience at Lost Tribe are our followers. They're the young teens and young adults of the world that are all about being positive and Jewish. But we also know that our funders and our partners see our content. People beyond the Jewish community see our content. So we're representing the Jewish community as a whole. And we need to consider how this content may be received by all parties that are going to see it. Because as a brand, we don't necessarily get to pick and choose who sees our content. It's open, it's out there. The internet is open for the whole world to see, and it's a public space. So you have to be ready for backlash from any sort of audience member that could see your content. And you also have to ask yourself, like, how much have we evaluated how much we care for each of these groups, right? Like how much, and what is our response as a brand if we do face backlash from people beyond the Jewish community? We face that all the time, right? Just by being proud of being Jewish people, we certainly see backlash from people beyond the Jewish community about that. And frankly, that's one of the things where we care significantly less versus, if our funders and our partners see our content at Lost Tribe, it's very important to us that they feel like it represents our mission and that it is, that it clears in their book, that it is good for them. And then lastly, and this is certainly something we've had to grapple with at Lost Tribe. Are there any current events that would make our content insensitive, right? A great piece of content that is on brand, that is positive and celebrates Jewish culture is great, but it's also like you have to read the room and you have to read the world as well. It's really important as a brand that, for instance, if we were posting positive content in the day or two after October 7th that would be insensitive, right? It would be out of pocket kind of. And so as a brand, you need to be aware of what's happening in the world and make sure that you're in tune with that. The last thing a brand wants to be is insensitive or out of the loop with what's happening in their followers' lives. So, this may or may not be interesting to all of you. I hope it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting for me, as someone who tries to help run this Lost Tribe brand. But whether or not it's interesting to you, I would say, especially when I'm speaking to the younger people that are on this call, I would say it is applicable to you. And what I mean by applicable to you, I mean that it is true that in life, the same way brands need to be careful about the way they behave, both in person and online, we as human beings and as people have personal brands. And no matter what, whether you want this personal brand or you don't, you have it and you've built it because it's how you present yourself. It's who you believe yourself to be and the way you hold yourself, in conversations, when you talk to friends, family, everywhere you go in your life, you're bringing your personal brand. That includes on social media. And the rules for brands or the guidelines for brands are pretty much the same for personal use. And I would recommend for all of you that are on social media, I'm on social media too personally, these are the same questions that I ask, right? So in terms of risk management, what things should you consider before posting on social media? You as in your personal brand. And the questions are basically the same. Does the message of your content represent your personal brand? Is what you're posting on social media representative of who you believe yourself to be? Right? Meaning, does this piece of content represent who I am and how I hold myself in person, in real life, all the time, including online? Other questions include, is there anything about this content that may be considered offensive, as we do not want to be offending people online? And then, have you considered all the reasons you might face backlash? For Lost Tribe, that was followers and our funders and people beyond the Jewish community. For you all, for the teens I'm speaking to specifically here, you might want to think about the backlash you could face from your audiences, such as your friends, your family, your school, your future universities, and future employers. And similarly, you have to ask yourself, have you evaluated how much you care or potentially will or will not care about each of these groups? And if you think about what I'm saying here, what I'm saying is when you post online, there may be things that you post because you're doing it for your friends and you're building your brand for your friends, your personal brand, and you want to look cool or funny or whatever it is. You also need to evaluate, though, that the internet is a public space and you have to ask yourself, is it appropriate? Could it be considered offensive for people in my family? If my principal sees this, if my future university or my future employer sees this, you really have to be prepared for speaking on what you've posted in real life. And again, is there anything happening in this world that would make your content insensitive? And would you ever potentially regret posting content? I'm not one to lecture, and so this is not a lecture. I hope this is a fun analogy for how genuinely brands think about this the same way, because everything is on the line for brands. You only get one reputation in this life. Whether you're a brand or you're a person, you get one reputation. And the internet can be a permanent place. And so brands are very careful about what they put online because they know the whole thing can come crumbling down if their reputation is shot. And the same thing can be said for your personal brands and the things that you put online. I will share personally, a friend of mine had a very awesome job lined up. She was going to be a speechwriter for a very, very well-known politician, very, very well-known, had the job. And during their search, they found a couple of jokes that she made on Twitter back in 2011 when she was in high school, like early high school, that were not what she meant and were not representative of who she is now, but she didn't think twice about posting it. And unfortunately, she lost that job and she's still here in New York City. It's really unfortunate, but it happens all the time. And it's not just about, like, I'm sure you guys know not to post really awful things online, but it's also think about, like, post things online that you believe are true to who you are. Remember that you have a brand and a reputation when you're online, and it's never anonymous. And so something as small as a couple of political jokes that you think are funny, you never know 14 years down the line when they might come back. And you know, I know all of these old people try and tell us that. I heard it so much when I was young, and it's true. But as someone now who's in the young job world, building our young careers, I see how it impacts my friends. And I encourage and I urge all of you to think about your personal brands. Think about who you want to be, and think about how you want to present yourself online. And just remember that, you know, if you're 15 now, or if you're 18 now, 10 years from now, you'll be 25 and 28, and you're still going to have that stuff out there online. And so I encourage you all to think about yourselves as a brand. Right? If all of these adults care about it so much, and it matters for their jobs, and these global brands, these billion-dollar brands care about what they're posting on social media, surely you should care as well. So I feel like now I'm super lecturing, so I'm going to get off of this and see what's next. So, you know, before we jump into the quiz and the contest, I'll just say a note on Jewish pride and countering anti-Semitism for the teens in the room. People ask me all the time, you know, how do you feel? How do you keep your Jewish pride or your hatikva, your hope? You know, and how you counter anti-Semitism. There's no one right answer, but certainly the answer that I give every time is finding your communities. Right, whether that's online or in person, I believe that finding your Jewish communities is the most important way, or the best way that you can continue to feel that Jewish pride and counter that anti-Semitism is by finding your spaces. You know, whether that's what you've all done with ORT, which is an incredible safe space to be Jewish, to feel pride and to learn about Judaism and connect with other Jews, which is incredible, or Lost Tribe, which is another online community, or the communities that you can find in person all around the world. I highly recommend staying in touch with your communities, because to me, it has been the driving force of my pride in my Judaism has been the communities that I've been a part of and been able to build in the Jewish community. Secondarily, though, I also take a lot of pride in countering anti-Semitism by making the content that we make at Lost Tribe. What we do online counters anti-Semitism by bringing happiness and uplifting the hearts and minds of Jewish teens and young adults around the world, and I love doing it, and it brings me pride, Jewish pride, to do so. And if you feel that way, or maybe you feel like you could feel that way as well, good for you, because and I don't know that much about it, so eventually I will pass the torch. But there is there is an ORT Day Lost Tribe content contest. Say that 5 times fast. But essentially what it'll be is it'll be a contest that the rules will be just defined, where you'll get the opportunity to make some Lost Tribe content as a part of ORT Day. And I've been asked, as someone who creates a lot of content, to share just a couple of pieces of advice if you're going to make some content. So here are my 3 most important aspects of making content. I can share this document with anyone who wants it, by the way. It starts with the premise. To make a good piece of content, you need a good idea, right? It starts with brainstorming. What are you going to film? And what type of content are you going to film? Do you want to film an interview on the street? Do you want to film a POV sketch comedy video? Right? And what is your unique idea to that, right? So, okay, I'm going to do a sketch comedy video, and it's going to be about the first day of sleepaway camp, right? That's a good premise to start with. But then when it goes to come to filming, there are 2 other things that I would consider. The hook, which is basically the first 3 seconds of your video. On social media, this is definitely a thing that all experts in social media know. When it comes to videos on social media, your video is only as good as your first 3 seconds. And so it's important that it grabs the audience's attention, and it also sets up the video. It makes us understand what's going on here. And so a good hook is going to be making the premise of the video really clear as quickly and as concisely as possible, so that way we can get to the rest of the good stuff and understand it, if that makes sense. And then lastly, if you're going to go out and film content and you're there, you got your good idea, you already know how you're going to do a hook, right? Like, so, you know, for example, we have a video series where someone guesses bar mitzvah themes. And so the hook for that is, bet I can guess your bar mitzvah theme in 3 questions. takes about 3 seconds to say, but what do you know? You know she's gonna guess a bar mitzvah theme. She's gonna ask only 3 questions. So throughout the whole video, you know you're getting closer and closer to the end. You know she's gonna guess, and you know you're gonna find out the theme. All of that within the 3 seconds of bet I can guess your bar mitzvah theme in 3 questions. So that's a good example of a hook. And then lastly, when you're there and you're on and it's time to start filming, the 2 things I would just remember are your audio and your video quality. Audio, whether you're using a mic or you're not using a mic, either way, I would try and find a spot that's a little less noisy, you know, where we're not listening to all the things around us, but we're listening to what we should be. And I would also think about your video quality. And using an iPhone is perfectly good. That's what we use. We use iPhones here at Lost Tribe. But we also make sure we have good lighting. We look for good natural lighting. If there's a light source, we try and get the light source on our face. Like, you know, this is informal, but for instance, I wouldn't film like this with my face backlit, right? My face looks pretty dark like this. But if I were to face my window, oh my goodness, he looks so well lit. This looks amazing. That would be something you would want to think about when you're filming content. Where's the light coming from? And what's the audio source? And so I think this is where I'm going to pass the torch to someone to start the quiz or to describe the content contest. But because I am a hopeful person, I will say it one more time. Does anyone have any questions or anything they want to ask? Anything that was interesting today? Anything they simply didn't understand and want me to go back and talk more about? I would be happy to do any of it. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, what's up, Alice? Come on, let's go.
Mute myself. Okay. My question is, how do you do outreach to places like synagogue youth groups or camps? I'm just curious how you do outreach.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, listen, we have one of the best outreach programs, in my opinion, that's ever been, which is social media. I mean, we reach about 10 million people a month on social media with Jewish content. And so when you're reaching that many people with that are predominantly Jewish, you know, as our research has shown that we reach predominantly Jewish people between the ages of 14 and 28. We're pretty confident that we are reaching those synagogues and that, you know, we're well known internally. And then, you know, when it comes to camps and stuff like that, we've been building revenue models, you know, as Lost Tribe. We're a very young organization, and our product is frankly hard to understand sometimes for people that have the funding dollars that are of older generations. And so we look to build revenue models by working with camps, by traveling to camps in the summer, filming content for them, as well as for Lost Tribe. And helping them with their marketing. We also connect with similar like youth groups like Route One and other like teen travel, Jewish groups and stuff like that. But in terms of outreach, you know, when we're reaching 8 to 10 million people a month, you know, that's our outreach, and then our focus is on how do we bring them into deeper engagement a few times a year.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Spencer, I want to call on some of the schools that I can see here, some of
Yeah.
the whole classes that we've got. So can somebody in Olami in Mexico City, can one of you come up and speak at the microphone?
Oh, this is so exciting.
We have a volunteer from Olami. Oh, someone's coming. Excellent.
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
Laila.
Lila. Nice to meet you, Lila. Have you
Nice to
seen
meet
any
you.
have you seen any of this content before?
Yes, in TikTok.
Nice. Right on.
Okay. And are you a content creator? Do you make videos?
No, not really.
Okay. Would you like to try?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I
So
will.
we're going to tell you later about this competition, about how you can enter the competition, and you and your friends will be delighted to welcome you entering your videos. Is there anything you wanted to ask about the presentation
Yes.
today?
Yeah. I wanted to ask, how do you come up with these things to do so every time you have a new different video? Where do you
Yeah,
get the inspiration?
that's a great
Question.
question. Um, honestly, so it comes from we have a really amazing team at Lost Tribe. There's about like 5 or 6 of us, and our jobs are to sit around and think of really awesome content. But a lot of it is looking at the content that we like that may not be Jewish content and asking ourselves, why do we like this content? Like, for instance, Lost Tribe does some food reviews, like we review Jewish food. Um, I know that before I was at Lost Tribe, I liked watching food review videos because I like to know where to go to eat in New York City. And so I figured, okay, if I'm in New York City and I like to watch those videos, maybe as a Jewish person, I'd like to watch videos about, kosher food reviews. And so you find things that you like and you like in your life and you kind of figure out what works for your brand. And so that's what we do at Lost Tribe. That and also like I grew up, I went to sleepaway camp. I went to my synagogue during high holidays growing up. I've got a booby that feeds me too much and a mom that, loves me too much, and so these are some things that a lot of Jewish, kids and teens can relate to. And so a lot of it is just figuring out what happened in my life that may have happened in a lot of other Jewish teens around the world and finding the humor in it. Like I'm sure we can all relate to whoever it is that runs your Seders. Like my dad runs my Seders, and I'm already mentally preparing for Passover to sit there for 2 hours and listen to him talk. Right?
Me too.
You too, exactly. And so these shared experiences, like that's a video. If someone's thinking about the content contest, that's a video, right? We've all sat there and listened to whoever's running the Seder. For me, it's my dad. I've sat there and listened to my dad do the longest Seders. It feels like longer than services, and we all know how that feels, and we all know what it feels like to sneak a little bit of matzo when no one's looking or whatever.
Yeah.
And so building on your culture and your experiences, that's how we find new content. And luckily we're still living Jewish lives. Like if my dad does something funny at Passover next month, I'm gonna make a video about it. I'm gonna find a way to get that in a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Is there someone else in Olami?
Yeah, hi. I want to
Hey.
Hi, what's your name?
question. Dana.
Hi, Dana.
Hi there.
Good, and you? I have a question. Like, I have seen your content in social media, but my question is, has someone told something bad about Jewish people while doing the videos, and how it feels like for if you know the people who did who do the videos?
So are you're asking like do we know the people that are in all of our videos? Like have we met them
Yeah,
before?
like if they're recording the videos, like asking, wow, what was your bar mitzvah theme? Like if someone said, oh my god, like you're so, like something bad about it, like not not good things.
You mean online, like in the comment sections? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
or like, sorry,
in person or online?
person, like online is very, like a lot of things, but in person is very like difficult too.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
person.
sorry, by the way, my computer's dying, so I'm just making sure I get a charger so I don't do an Irish exit here. But I mean, listen, when it comes to in person, um, I think I'm never a fan of confrontation. And I think that if people are looking for that type of confrontation in person, then they're probably not worthwhile to talk to. In my conversations that I've had with people in person, I usually I start with some statements that I believe everyone needs to be able to get behind in order to be able to have a conversation. And I'm towing the line here of being political, and I will hopefully not be political in saying this, but I firmly believe that if you can't acknowledge that there is nuance in what is happening with Israel and Palestine, that we can't have a conversation. If you don't believe that there are things that uh, Hamas can do a lot better, and that obviously terrorist organizations, there's a lot more there, as well as things that Israel can do better. And we can't acknowledge there's a world where there needs to be better work happening and better communication happening on both sides, I find it hard to have a conversation. If someone can get past that, right, and if someone says, yeah, no, I can agree that yes, Hamas is a terrorist organization, and I also believe that Israel needs to do better. Well, okay, now we're having a productive conversation, and I'm willing to listen and learn from them, as well as share my perspective and hopefully teach them one or two things. Now, naturally, if they say no, I don't believe Israel has a right to exist, then I would say then I don't believe we should have a conversation. It's a non-starter. I do believe that generally Israel has a right to exist, and if we fundamentally disagree, then maybe it's not worth us to have a conversation, and that's where I'd probably walk away.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting.
Cool, awesome. Thank you guys for asking these questions.
Hi,
Hi, what's up?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I saw on your website that you have merch. Do you use the money to donate to Israel, or what do you use the money for?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. We don't sell that much merch. So my guess is, it's interesting. Like we've had a merch store for about 2 years, and the majority of that money that we've made from it is still sitting like in an account. We haven't done anything really with the money. But I think that'd be a great thing for us to do. We once a year we do this thing called Sadakathon, where we try and teach as many of our followers about what Sadaka is and what it means to do Sadaka and to give back. And we always pick an organization to raise money for during that time. This past year, we raised money for the Nova Foundation, of course, as it was a very relevant thing to be raising money for. And we brought on a Nova survivor to talk about his experience. He was at the Nova Festival, so we don't. I mean, we don't sell particularly enough merch to do something with that money just yet. But I'll tell you what, if it goes viral and we start making a whole bunch of money from the merch, we're a nonprofit. Our goal is not to drive money. Our goal is to drive Jewish impact, and to make more Jewish experience for teens. So certainly if that becomes a real revenue source, it'll either be donated or it'll go towards our mission of making more Jewish experiences for Jewish young adults and teens.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. What was your name? What was your name?
My name is Tamara.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for just one more question. Is there anyone there in Brazil or in Bulgaria, in Lithuania? Anyone want to ask a question for Spencer?
This
Oh,
is
another
so,
in Mexico.
so
Okay.
global.
No. Okay, well, I want to just encourage everybody here to, if you haven't already, to check out Lost Tribe, to like and subscribe. And thank you, Spencer, for giving us your time today. It was a fantastic presentation, really informative, and we look forward to being in touch again soon. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for listening to me today. I hope it was valuable to the teens out there that have seen us online. I hope you enjoy our content. I hope you know a little bit more about why we do what we do. And again, I hope you also understand why it's important to be careful and be thoughtful about what you put online, because what you put online today could still be online 10 years from now. And you're not just speaking for you, you're speaking for future you as well. And so I encourage you all to be thoughtful about what you put out online, as you continue to gain wisdom, which I encourage you all to do. So thank you all so much for your time today. I really, really do appreciate it. If you had a question you were too shy to ask or you didn't think of it in time, please, anyone can send me an email, shoot us a DM on social media, whatever it is, you can find us. All right.